All right, guys, so today we're going to talk about function composition. So we've done adding, subtracting, and multiplying. So now we're going to look at a thing called function composition. So the notation of this looks a little tricky, but I promise you it's not that bad at all. So if we take a look here on the left-hand side, so this is our notation. We read this as f of g of 2, and the same thing for down here. So this notation is the exact same as what's right above it. This little open circle just means that we're doing composition. Notice that it's an open circle and not a solid circle, because if it was solid, then it would be multiplication. So we just have f of g of 2. All right, so what this means, this middle column is explaining exactly what it means. So we're going to substitute 2 into the g function. So basically what we're doing is we're going from the innermost parentheses and we're moving our way out. So I'm going to put 2 into the g function. So look all the way to the right. We have a g function right here. So I'm going to plug a 2 in for the x into each one of those. All right, so 2 squared is 4. 3 times 2 is 6. So 4 plus 6 gives me 10. All right, so we substituted 2 into the g function for the variable, get an answer. That's what we did, and we got 10. Then substitute that answer into the f function. So once we get an answer, we're then going to take that and plug it into the f function. So I'm going to take this 10, and I'm now going to plug it in for the x and the f function. So this is 10 plus 4. So this gives me 14 as my answer. All right, so when we're doing this, you're going to start on the innermost parentheses and work your way out. So we're going to take 3, and we're going to plug it into the f function, get an answer, and then take that answer and plug it into the g function. So over here, this is my f function, so 3 plus 4 gives me 7. And now I'm going to take this 7, and I'm going to plug it into the other function. So I'm going to plug it in for x in each one of those. So 7 squared plus 3 times 7. So now I have 49 plus 21, which that's going to give me 70. All right, so again, we're starting with the innermost and we're working our way out, plugging those numbers into each of those functions. So let's go down here. Let's look at these examples. So notice that up here at the top, these are all of our functions. So when you look at the problems and it's giving you a letter, that's what we're referring to. So on this first one, we have f of g of 3. So I'm going to start with the innermost, and I'm going to put negative 3 into the g function. So my g function is this right here. So I'm going to plug 2, and instead of x, I'm going to put negative 3, and then minus 7. So 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Minus 7 gives me negative 13. So now I'm going to take this negative 13, and I'm now going to plug it into the next function that's listed, and that's the f function. So when I look up here, I'm looking for the f function. Here's the f function. So I'm going to plug this 13 into the f function. So 3, instead of x, I put negative 13, and then plus 2. So 3 times negative 13 is negative 39. Plus 2 gives me negative 37. Okay, all right, let's look at our next one. So here we have g of k of 5. So I'm going to start with the innermost. So I'm going to plug 5 into the k function. So up here at the top, my k function is negative 4x plus 9. So instead of x, I'm going to plug in my 5. So negative 4 times 5 plus 9, so negative 20 plus 9 gives me negative 11. Now I'm going to take that negative 11 and I'm going to plug it into the next one that I see here, and that's the g function. So the g function up here at the top is right here. So now we're going to plug into that. So now I have 2, instead of x, I'm putting negative 11 and then minus 7. Negative 22 minus 7 gives me negative 29. All right. Okay, let's do one more example. So down here, we're going to start with the innermost. So we're doing k of negative 4. So I go to the k function. I'm going to plug a negative 4 in. So I have negative 4, parentheses, negative 4. plus 9. So I have 16 plus 9, which gives me 25. Now I'm going to take that answer and I'm going to plug it into the h function here. All right, so I look up here, h function's all the way here on this end. So I'm going to plug 25 in for x. So I have negative 5 times 25 minus 8. So we get negative 125 minus 8, which is going to give me negative 133. All right, and it's perfectly okay to get big numbers. You can get something in the 200s, 300s, 400s, it doesn't matter. All right, so you can pause the video and work out the next 3 and then check with your teacher and make sure that you did them correctly. All right, so now that you've finished those, let's look at function composition. And now let's look at, instead of having a number, we're now having the letter x is staying in there. So basically what that means is I'm taking this function, g of x, and if I look at g over here, notice that there's an x in it, right? So we're taking that entire function, so all of it, 3x minus 9, and we're going to plug it into the f function. Okay, so it's going to look like this. I take 3x minus 9, that's replacing this x right here, and then plus 4. So then I combine like terms, and I get 3x minus 5. All right, that looks a little confusing, so let's do some more. All right, so if we look at this one, the next one, we have f of x is all going to go into the g function. So all of this, f of x, all of this stuff is going to go into the g function. So I have 2 parentheses, 5x plus 5, close parentheses, and then minus 7. All right, so then I have 10x plus 10 minus 7. I did that by distributing. So 10x plus 3, and that's my answer. Okay, so this is a little confusing because you got to know which function goes into which function, and it can be kind of tough to understand. So let me show you a couple of hints down here and a couple of shortcuts. All right, so when we're looking at these down here, again, our functions are up here at the top, okay? So what I look at when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at what is the outermost function here, and that is f. Okay, so that means the f function is the function I'm going to start writing down. So I have 3, but then if I look, here's my f function. The next thing is the letter x, but I don't want the letter x. I'm going to take that letter x out, and I'm going to replace it with g of x. So now I'm looking, and I'm going to put this where this x was. So now I have parentheses 2x minus 7. I close the parentheses, and then I write the rest of my f function plus 2. So if you look, green is the g function, blue is the f function. So can you see how I put the g function just inside of the f function? Once you're to this point, then we just simplify. So 6x minus 21 plus 2. So this is going to give me 6x minus 19 as my final answer. So we can write this over here. All right, let's do a couple more. So here, we're starting with the k function. So I'm going to go up to the top, and I'm going to find my k function. And that's what function is going to go inside of the g function. All right, so g is the outermost one, so that's the one that I'm going to start writing. So if I look at my g function, we made it green in the last problem, so we'll make it green in this problem again. So I'm going to write my g function, 2, but instead of the x, I'm taking that x out, and I'm going to put in my k function. So parentheses, negative 4x plus 9. So my k function I'm making red. Now I have to finish writing the g function, so minus 7. So can you see that this parentheses right here, this came from right here, and I'm just putting the k function into the g function. Okay, so now I'm just going to simplify this. So negative 8x plus 18 minus 7. So now I have negative 8x plus 11. All right, let's do another one. So here's the function. I'm going to put it into the h function. All right, so let's see. We've done blue, green, and red. We haven't done, let's do pink. So my h function is going to be pink. So I'm going to start off by writing this function down. So I have -5, but instead of the x, I'm going to replace that x and I'm going to put in the k function. So my k function's red. So I'm going to put that in here. So -4x plus 9. And then I'm going to finish writing my h function, so -8. Now we're going to distribute. So this gives me 20x minus 45 minus 8. And then we can combine these here. So this gives me 20x minus 53. All right, let's do one more. So we're going to start with our h function. So we're taking this function and we're putting it inside of f function. So my f function, I'm going to start by writing that. So it starts with 3. And then it has an x, but instead of x, I'm going to substitute in my h function. So I have -5x minus 8. And then I'm going to finish up the f function. So then plus 2. And now I'm just going to distribute. So this gives me -15x minus 24 plus 2. And so I'm going to combine like terms. This gives me -15x minus 22. All right, so feel free to rewind and replay whatever portion of this video you need. You can try the last 3 problems and then again show to your teacher and make sure that you did them correctly, and then you can move on to the next activity. If you have questions, please come and see me.